want to repaint your kitchen cabinets, what's something that you can think about so that you choose a color that makes sense for you? Hi everyone, it's interior designer Carol Gilman. Let's discover interior design. In this video, we're going to talk about how you can think of how much change that you want in your kitchen, whether you want just a bit or a much more bigger change, and how that can help you choose just the right color to repaint your kitchen cabinets. And we'll also talk about some interior design tips to help you bring everything together. So the first thing to think about is what amount of change that you want in your kitchen. Do you just want a little bit of a change, or do you want a more drastic contrast sort of a change? If you just want just a little bit of a change where you really want to change the color of, say, your white cabinets, and you really like the look and feel of colors and other things in your home where it's much more subtle and you're just looking for a nice change but nothing too drastic, that's where we can kind of turn to different variations of colors to help you create that look and feel. One thing I would encourage you to do when you are wanting to make just a bit of a change, you just need a little bit of a refresh on your kitchen cabinets, is make sure that you do make a change that you can see. Because when you are repainting, say, a white kitchen cabinet, and you just want to repaint it in a white color again, well, it's not really going to be worth that time and effort and money to do that, because it'll just be a refreshed look. But this is the opportunity for you to make a change, even if it is going to be maybe a more subtle and soft change. So a couple of approaches or color schemes that you can think about when you just want to make just a more subtle, softer change. One of them is to think about neutral colors. And neutral colors are always timeless and they go well with everything. And when we're talking about these softer neutrals, and actually every other color that we can think of that could go in your kitchen cabinets, we are talking about maybe more traditional style, or it could be transitional, or maybe even something where it's kind of a farmhouse style look. Because all of those looks have these nice, soft, inviting looks to them. And so when we're thinking about colors, one thing we can think about is choosing more subtle, softer variations. So when you're looking for neutral colors, you may want to kind of stay in that family where it's a little bit softer and a little bit more subtle. And one thing that you can do is look for colors that have warmer tones to them. That would mean maybe warmer whites, or maybe warmer beiges and also grays. We can look at taupe colors, but even browns. Anything though where it's a little bit warmer, a little bit softer, and it could be maybe a lighter version, more pastel-y, or maybe something that's a little bit deeper, but something that is much more soft and subtle. And another way to think about this too is looking for something that might be a little bit more updated. One color I think is kind of fun to think about is an off-white color, kind of in that mushroom family. So something that maybe adds a little bit of a warmth to the white tone that you already have, and something that adds a little bit of a variation. And the other color scheme direction that you could go with is thinking outside the box a little, and think of the color blue. I think of the color blue as the other neutral color, because blue is a nice direction to go because it goes with a lot of colors. Think of when we wear jeans. So the indigo color of jeans. Well, we wear those jeans with other colors of shirts and jackets and everything. And so think of your blue on your kitchen cabinets in the same way. And so that is a nice direction to go. And if you want to stay in that kind of subtle, softer variation of blue, that's where you look towards something that maybe is a little bit more toned down and muted instead of something that is very bright and bold and dark. The other direction you can take is even thinking of the color green as a neutral. Think of outside. If we are around a lot of green trees and green grass, that is a really nice background where other colors come in and go with the color green. So think of it that way as well. So when you bring in a green color into your kitchen, yes, you're bringing in another color, but in a lot of ways, it is a very neutral color that other things can go with that color. And when we're talking about where we want just a bit of a change, nothing too drastic or contrasty, that's where I would stay within maybe lighter versions of green, maybe a nice sage green, or maybe something a little bit deeper like an olive green, but colors that are a little bit softer and kind of toned down. And then if you want to take it even further, you can certainly bring in other colors such as oranges and yellows and reds. You can bring in these colors in more subtle variations and toned down versions as well. That could be maybe pastels or maybe mid-toned variations of oranges and yellows and reds where it's a little bit more grayed out and where there's some warm tones coming through, but it's not such a big, bold change to your kitchen. And if you do want to bring in a nice new change to your kitchen and you just want to stay within that neutral color family, but enough of a difference where you can see the change, but you also want to bring in an accent color, say on a kitchen island, well, that's where it's nice to bring in a blue or a green or even one of those warmer tones like an orange, red, or yellow. And that brings in another color, but it also brings it in a smaller amount and in a tone that will work with the subtle look that you are going for. But maybe you want much more of a change in your kitchen. In fact, maybe in your home, you really enjoy having contrast, a lot of contrast between dark and light colors, for example. Well, this is where you can bring in different variations of colors into your kitchen cabinets where it'll really create this bold, dramatic change. And this will kind of help us think of maybe a more modern look. So if you want to bring in a more modern style to your kitchen, adding a deeper color will create that effect. So if you want to bring in neutral colors and you just want to stay in the neutral color family of grays and browns, maybe even black, and maybe even some earth tones, I would recommend for that type of look that you want to create a big change is looking towards those colors and those variations that are going to be deeper and much bolder. We can look at maybe some nice dark, deep browns or a deep charcoal color. Any of those versions where it would create much more contrast, especially if you're moving from a very white or very pale color of cabinet. Moving to a much darker, deeper color is going to create a big change for you. The other direction you can take is to think again of what we can think of as other neutrals, such as blue and green. But what I would recommend doing if you really like that contrast is to look for those deeper versions, dark navy blue or the jewel tones of emerald green. All of these different variations will really have a big impact and create kind of a modern look to your kitchen. And also you can think about bringing in other colors such as oranges, yellows, and reds, because all of those colors, when we use them in a very saturated and bold way, really add a lot of contrast and really add to that look of a more updated, modern style of kitchen. So when you are thinking about repainting your kitchen cabinets, just think about your style and how much change you want. And let me know in the comments how much change you would like to have in your kitchen, just a bit and just a much more subtle approach or something more dramatic and bold. So please share what you would prefer in the comments. And when you bring in a new color into your kitchen, say on your kitchen cabinets, there are a couple things that you can think about to make sure that that new color helps to create a cohesive look. And one of the things that you can think about doing is making sure that you use repetition. When we use repetition, when we repeat a color, for example, in other areas of a room or in adjacent areas, we are helping to tie everything together. So when we paint our kitchen cabinets a different color, we may want to repeat that color in smaller amounts in our kitchen or in those adjacent areas. And we don't have to repeat that same color exactly. It could be maybe a softer version or a darker or lighter version of that color, but just something that where we can subtly connect the dots. We will notice that everything looks and feels tied in together. One example of this is, say you have a family room that's adjacent to your kitchen, or maybe it's part of an open concept style of room. One thing that you could try is you could repeat that paint color that you have on your cabinets somewhere in the family room. This could be on throw pillows or on a throw blanket. But other areas that you can think about are if you have cabinetry or shelving or even trim around a fireplace or the mantle around a fireplace. This is where you could use that same paint color on those areas as well, or maybe a softer version of those colors. So if you're using a deep navy blue, maybe you could use maybe a little bit lighter version of that blue on those areas. It's just something to think about where you will repeat that color in other areas so that we get the sense that everything is cohesive. And the other thing I encourage you to do to help create a cohesive look to your kitchen when you repaint your kitchen cabinets is to assess your kitchen if there are any other areas in the kitchen that need to be updated as well. And this could be something that's kind of worn out or faded or just isn't functioning very well anymore. And when you do that, then your kitchen will be more cohesive. That will get the feeling that everything is put together and kind of refreshed and everything looks really great. So please let me know if you have any questions on this topic, or if you have repainted your kitchen cabinets, share what you did and what color you chose in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.